What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Happy Saturday. We have made it to the weekend, made it to the end of the initial 5 days of NFL free agency. And we had a lot of activity. It's been a very active week. If you're a Seahawks fan, really, you're probably talking about more like a week and a half because the stuff that was really intriguing, the stuff that was really attention grabbing, started last week. So this was just kind of the culmination of it. This was just kind of the second half of it. And what I can say is that we now can very safely and very reasonably judge the way in which the Seahawks are approaching this upcoming season. We know. We know what's going on here. And I think with that we can also make some very educated assumptions about what had happened in the previous couple of months. So the team is very different now than they were 2 weeks ago. And in some ways, those changes were very obviously coming and necessary. And in some cases, they are less clear. But the bottom line is, and I just want to go ahead and lead with this team has zero interest in taking any kind of a step back. This team has zero interest in just allowing the massive amount of dead cap space they have accrued to just kind of wash over them and get it over with and aim for 2026. No, this team, not only are they going to try to compete in 2025, they're trying to be a playoff team and maybe even beyond that. And they are turning over the stones that they need to turn over, and they are extending themselves in the way that they need to extend themselves without going over the top crazy to accomplish that. And everybody's going to have their own take on that. Just on a fundamental level, I think that it was probably a little bit unreasonable to expect a team that is entering their second year with a new head coach and a GM who may very well be feeling the heat a little bit to take 2025 as a step back year anyway. So I'm certainly understanding of that. And after the last few days, I must say, I think that they are at the very least taking this seriously and at the very least making a good faith, honest attempt to build a team that can do some damage in 2025. So on that front, okay, I'm at least paying attention. This team has my attention, and I could definitely see this working out better than I initially expected. So on screen here, I have the tweet from this is Nemhauser. He runs down the ins and outs of the offseason so far in a brass tack sense. The Seahawks swapped out a good chunk of their offense, their quarterback, their two starting outside receivers, and a backup swing tackle, and two of their front seven members, Draymond Jones, Roy Robertson, Harris. They brought in a new quarterback, two new receivers, a new edge rusher, a new swing tackle, and they also retained a couple of defensive front seven pieces from last year in Reed and Jones. So it's actually a pretty decent amount of activity. I know that we made jokes in stream during the last week. I know we messed around about how dead things were, and a couple days were dead. This is not an inactive offseason at all. So this team is I'll say this. I think this team is making a real effort here. And it's not done yet. That's the other important part here. Because as of right now, if you want to be a Seahawks fan that points out this team has done nothing to address the offensive line, you're right. They haven't. And that's a problem. That's a big problem. They have made what I would consider to be a essentially irrelevant move with Josh Jones. You needed somebody like a Josh Jones, but he's not moving the needle in any appreciable way. So you do need to address the offensive line, but there's still an opportunity to do that. We have players that we can get. We are meeting with Tevin Jenkins on Monday. So there's an opportunity here for this team to do something they've never really done and spend big on an outside free agent interior offensive lineman, which, going back to some of my critiques of John Schneider earlier even earlier this week or last week or last month or last year or the last couple years, that would be a significant change to the way in which he's operating. That would be. So I think that if it comes together that way and we see this team make honest, good faith, and genuine investments into improving the offensive line in ways that are relatively definitive and objective and clear, not just taking a flyer, not just buying a lottery ticket, not just wishing on a lucky star with some rookies or bargain bin guys, that would indicate that Schneider has kind of learned his lesson here, or at the very least, he's willing to try something different. So the story of this offseason has not been fully told yet. The offseason, we still have more things we need to learn. Overall, this team is, I will go so far as to say this team is, in my opinion, in a position to be better than they were last year. They are in a position to be better than they have been since 2020. Now, in order to get there, I think they have more work they need to do. They're going to have to draft well, including getting some impact rookies, guys that are ready to contribute this season. And they're going to probably have to continue to spend money in free agency on at least a little bit of offensive line help, if not a lot, depending on your perspective. But I think this team is now reasonably well positioned to quite possibly be better than they've been in a while. And that is not something that I say lightly. That is not something that's easy for me to come to the conclusion of because of how I feel about certain things. But as I look at it, I think that that door remains open. And I think that this team has showed at the very least a willingness to do whatever it takes to kick that door open, to actually go through it. So I spoke very negatively about some things with this team earlier this week, previous weeks, previous months, whatever. I still think that things have an opportunity to go in a bad direction. I'm still not going to say I'm completely drinking the Kool-Aid. In fact, I'm really kind of over the whole Kool-Aid thing when it comes to certain elements of this team and this organization. But I will say that I see the plan now, and I see how the plan can work. That's all you can really ask for right now, because nothing's guaranteed to work. Nothing you really do is guaranteed to work in this league. So all you have to do is see the plan, and it's starting to come together to me. So what else can you ask for? And I do want to say, beyond the Seahawks actions, what the Seahawks did, it was a great week. We streamed close to 40 hours. We missed it like maybe an hour 15 on the tail end of Thursday because the Hawks Nest stream went so long. I decided to just not even bother coming back for the last hour 15 of free agency. But we caught every move the Seahawks made of any significance on stream. We caught the Darnold signing, the Kupp signing, the Lawrence signing, MVS. The only thing we didn't catch was Josh Jones. That's it. So I'd call that a very successful week of streaming. People were very generous. People showed up in droves. We had a massive audience throughout the entire week, but especially that first day when things are really popping. As the week went on, yes, things slowed down a little bit, which is common sense. But I do want to take a moment here to say thank you to everybody who made that week possible. That is one of the most important weeks of the year for me here, and we did great. So I don't really know what else to say in this video other than just kind of wrap things up. Obviously, anything the Seahawks do the rest of the offseason in terms of free agency, I will be covering. I will be talking about anything they do, obviously. I seriously doubt they're done. I don't know how much cap space they have left, but it should be enough to do things if they want to do them. I don't know exactly how things square up for 2025 yet because I haven't seen these contract details, but I am not particularly worried about that as it affects the cap space because you can create more cap space if you really want to anyway. So I'm not going to waste my energy thinking about that too hard until we get at least some hard numbers on these contracts. And I hope they can continue down this path because they're on a path that I think can end with a successful season. but there are still ways the path can be followed poorly. Let's put it that way. There are still ways this team can end up in back in the cycle of mediocrity, and that's the thing that I'm going to be pretty annoyed by. If we get to the end of this upcoming season and I feel like we're just as mediocre as we've been the last few years, and I feel like on a broad sense level nothing's really changed, then I'm going to wonder what was the point of all the swapping around and moving stuff around. That I'm going to struggle with. I admit that. I'm going to say that right now. If you're going to do all this, if you're going to go this way, if you're going to sign this many older players, if you're going to make non-trivial monetary investments on older players on multi-year deals that do have a multi-year commitment in all likelihood, I don't want to be stuck in that mediocre washing machine again. The whole point of doing this is to get out of that one way or the other. One way or the other. And it's clear that this team feels like the only way up is up. There is no up is down stuff going on. All right, so weird little video. I know I kind of went in a few different directions here, but I just wanted to talk about the week as a whole and just say that I am not mentally where I was immediately after the Darnold signing, where I was pretty down. I wasn't too happy about that signing. I think that things at the very least seem to have purpose. This team seems to be moving with a sense of what they need to do to get to where they need to be. And whether or not these moves work, I think these moves are reasonable right now. And that is something that I will give a lot of get out of jail free points for. Okay, so I don't know what I'm going to be doing the rest of today. I don't think the team's going to do much today. If they do, I'll talk about it, but I'm not expecting a lot of action. Honestly, I have a lot of work to do with the draft stuff, which starts next week, but I'll make another video about that later.